Hello and welcome to Halftime Live. It's currently West Ham United 1, Liverpool 0 in the fourth round FA Cup replay at the Bowling Ground. I'm Gio from Hammers Chat. I've got Gonzo and Charlie with me. We're going to be discussing the first 45 minutes of both sides, so hopefully you'll get a fair, unbiased view as much as we can. Gonzo, what do you make of the first 45 minutes then?
They started very brightly. We were slow. We seemed to be slow getting out of the blocks as usual. I really thought Liverpool were going to score, even though we'd hit the bar with Joey O'Brien. All the two best chances had fallen to Benteke and to Shearer. And we started to come into it a little bit more. And obviously we've just scored I think it's a very good goal.
Well, you just mentioned it there. There was more post in the first half than there was for a mailman on Christmas Eve. Charlie, Joey O'Brien hit the post through a deflected shot. Would that have been harsh on Liverpool? Because as Gonzo started, I said they started a much better side, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it's worth noting we probably started a bit better than we have the last couple of games. That's not to say we started well, but we did start a little bit better. It would have been harsh. I think again we said this last time we faced them in the FA Cup. Their forward line, who all seem to be pretty young and small, are actually really good at passing, and their movement is just too much for us at times. So it definitely would have been harsh on him, especially because when does Joey O'Brien ever get a goal? I would have loved it though, don't get me wrong, I would have probably died of happiness, but we scored in the end anyway.
Well, not long after, Coutinho hit the post and then Payet obviously hit the post with his free kick. Fantastic free kick, by the way, sending Mignolet the wrong way. I think it confused every West Ham fan as well. I think we were all expecting him to go over the wall. Gonzo, you mentioned it there as well. Benteke, 3 corners has landed at him. Once he headed across the face of goal, twice he volleyed it. 2 fantastic saves by Randolph. Credit where credit's due. He's got across his goal line fast as to block them. Is Bilic's alarm bells ringing at half time? Is that what he's focusing on right now, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think Bilic's alarm bells are always ringing at half-time, so as we've discussed on many occasions, that's really when he does his best changes, because we seem to be far better in the second half than the first half. What I'd also say is don't think Liverpool really utilised Benteke that well up until now, but it seems to be rather than sort of Bilic changing things around. I think the penny's probably dropped for Klopp, who's now thinking, okay, this is the ammunition. We paid 30-odd million for a player from Aston Villa. This is the supply line he needs, and yeah, I mean he looks very, very dangerous.
Did Benteke do anything wrong for you, Gonzo? He's got his 3 chances. The first one he headed back into the box, but the other 2 were volleys. Should he be scoring, or is it just full credit to Randolph?
I think you can nitpick on these things. I think we are generally a good defensive team. I also think that the best chance they had was given to them by Reed. So I think we pack the box. I don't think we make it easy for a defence. Like they have acres of space, these attackers, to score. I think there were defenders in the way and a keeper's positioned very well. And as you said, you've got to give full credit to him. You're going to have to. You've got to be very good to score a goal past one of our 2 keepers. That's for sure.
We have 2 men on the post, which not every team does, but that does shrink the target down massively for Benteke and gives Randolph a lot less goal to have to cover. Charlie was finally scored there. Antonio, after good work by Enner Valencia, fantastic cross as well. Did Antonio show Liverpool how to finish though?
To the extent that they hadn't scored yet, yes. Yeah, Benteke's been all out of sorts this season. It's not hard to go into a big money move, obviously, but Antonio finishes fantastically. For it to come across at the rate it did, up high, he got it, and it was a absolutely fantastic finish. Brilliant. I should say, in regards to the last question, I don't think there's much more Benteke could have done. I think it's been good goalkeeping, but yeah, it was a fantastic finish by Antonio. Genuinely was, and a great cross as well. Like we said, Enner Valencia seems to have found out how to cross from somewhere.
Well, we've just discussed what's happened. Now we're going to go into the more analytic side of it and dig down into the tactics. With Gonzo, I want to start with what I think. When I was writing this down, I thought it was going to be 0-0 at half-time. It scored just before half-time. I thought if there's a goal, it's going to come through one side's full-backs. Gonzo, do you think there's massive scope for either's full-backs? Because Payet and Antonio aren't tracking back that much, and Liverpool, Ibe and Coutinho aren't tracking that much. We've seen Creswell and Joey O'Brien getting forward. We've seen Brad Smith and Flanagan not so much, but they're getting forward as well. And you mentioned Teixeira's chance, and that's because Brad Smith was really far forward, and he's linking up fantastically well with Coutinho. So do you think that's where one of these sides need to capitalise in the second half? Is that the danger spots, the Achilles heel of each side?
Quite possibly, but I think Liverpool have got a number of sort of number 10s in their teams. I think they're probably dangerous through the middle as well. But as I say, I think we're a very good defensive team in terms of us. It's not quite happened with Cresswell and Payet, but they seem to be trying to get a couple of overlaps formed down that left-hand side. From a tactical point of view, we started the game and I thought, well, perhaps Valencia's our striker. As it's going on, he's been drifted wide. He's put in, I think that was his third cross, the assist. He looks to be getting progressively wider and wider to the point where Antonio's in the middle, and I'm not entirely sure who our centre forward is. So if we are going to send fullbacks overlapping and bombing down, then maybe maybe Carroll comes on, and that really, they've got a battering ram in Benteke, and we have one in Carroll. So maybe those might be the tactics.
Charlie, are you disappointed by our Liverpool are playing a very inexperienced partnership at the back in Nolori and Lucas. Now, Lucas is experienced as centre defence and midfielders come. However, in terms of centre back, do you think that's where we should really be hitting them hard? Because they've never really played there before. Mignolet's come under a lot of criticism. Liverpool have recalled their sub-keeper Danny Ward from Aberdeen. They've took him back. So do you think there's a lot of... They shouldn't really be very confident, should they?
They shouldn't be, no. But again, I think it's the same problem we've been having for weeks in that we don't seem to be able to put teams under as much pressure unless they're in all-out defensive mode than we were able to earlier in the season. We should be pressurising them in the centre-backs role because, like you said, they probably have never played centre-back together properly. One of them's a defensive midfielder. Ilori's never really played at the top level. We should really be putting pressure there as much as possible. Bringing Carroll on the later it gets is gonna do that. However, how late you leave that is another question. But that's going to be the big one, and probably going to really put panic into those two when it happens.
Well, ex-Liverpool striker Big Andy Carroll is on the bench. Now, I want to talk about the benches quickly. Gonzo, if this was to go to extra time, does the benches worry you? We have a very young, inexperienced bench tonight. Also, we've got Carroll and Moses, but then we've got 3 youngsters on there. Liverpool, however, is brimming with experience, and I think Liverpool's bench is much, much stronger than ours. Would you agree with that? And does it worry you if it goes to extra time?
Yes, but I do think they've got huge fixture congestion, Liverpool, so they might have the more experienced players on the bench, but they have played an awful lot of games, and whilst 6th position is very nice for us, I think we're going to get top 4 because there's a gap opening up there, so I think this is really our main game, this one. What I do worry about in terms of off the bench is before we scored, I thought we were lacking a little bit of technique. There was one point where Payet broke down the left-hand side, and if you notice, he was marked by 3 guys. Now, because there's a lack of another player with technique, Lanzini would be an excellent example. They are allowed to double up, treble up on him, so I think bringing someone else on is going to sort of take away from that. I do believe that if it does go to the second half, in answer to your question, and it comes down to substitutes, that both Carroll and Moses will probably come on. That'll give us another dimension, and I think our defence should hopefully, one mistake out of the way by Reed, should be good enough to deal with whatever they throw at us.
Charlie, do you agree with that, or does Klopp's options? He's got Origi, Sturridge, Milner, Henderson, loads of appearances between the 4 of them on that bench. Does that worry you, or are you quite calm, a bit like Gonzo's appearing to be?
No, I'm relatively calm. Although our benches don't have as many appearances as maybe we would have liked, I think the players we do have on the bench, I rate them all very highly. Moses hasn't been doing it recently, but when he's on point, he's very good. Carroll, we obviously all know. But then you look at the young players. Oxford obviously played incredibly well in Arsenal, and I think he's got a lot to come. Cullen played incredibly well in the European games at the beginning of the season. I thought this was his season to step up, and Deja Parfitt-Williams has been doing fantastically recently. And I think if either of those 3 young players do come on, this is going to be a fantastic chance for them to prove themselves, and I think it probably wouldn't require Slaven Bilic to do much to G them up in that sense.
Well, I worry you are underestimating the Liverpool bench there. I think they've got a lot of talent on there, and I think Klopp could change. I think they've missed a lot of chances that first half. We've just spoke about them. Benteke with 2, Coutinho's hit the post, Ashida. That's 4 times they could potentially have scored tonight. And I think if they had maybe Sturridge in one of those positions, it may very well have just hit the back of the net. And it does worry me that Klopp does have a lot of aces on his bench to play his hand. And I know they've got fixture congestion, but with 10 minutes to go and they're 1-0 down, what's 10 minutes for putting on Sturridge and Origi and going for it? It's for the sake of 10 minutes. It's not that bad. So, but let's talk about Mr. Bilic then. We've kind of touched on it there, Gonzo. What changes would you do if you were Bilic, or would you leave it as late as possible before you even look at your bench?
I've got to be honest, otherwise it's not going to be totally truthful. I'd sat here, we knew we were going to do this half-time show. I was getting very frustrated with Valencia before he managed to do that. What seemed like, going past three guys and delivering a really excellent cross with his left foot. So credit to him there. Before that, I mean, I was furious with him, to be honest with you, and I was really sort of advocating Carroll coming on for Valencia. Having said that, if what you say happens, they do attack us and it's all guns sort of firing at the end, then they're susceptible on the breaks. Maybe we need to keep pace on the field.
But Gonzo, do you not think maybe he should take Carroll on and leave Valencia, and just take Valencia away from the strikers line and let him drift wide like he has been, where he has been getting more involved towards the end half? And as you've said, Payet's getting crowded out because he's the flair player. So would that not then give Valencia the room? And as we know, we all know he likes a yard to set himself up for that rocket shot. And if three players are crowding around Payet, that gives him the opportunity to create that space, I think.
Possibly not. I think Carroll in himself dictates that more than one defender goes on Carroll. So I think just Carroll coming on will free up Payet anyway, because they just can't put three guys on Payet and ignore Carroll because his physical presence is just so great.
Yeah, well, I think Big Andy likes scoring in front of the Bobby Moore stand as well. From memory, he seems to always score in front of that stand compared to any other one. Charlie, are you confident we're going to see this out?
Yeah, I think we've got the defensive players to do so. I've been impressed by Joe O'Brien, despite there have been a few times down that side where they have gotten. I think by and large I've been relatively impressed with him. I am confident. I am. I think we've got enough, and I think that going forward we could even get a second when Andy Carroll comes on, because those centre backs will be worried about that.
Well, halfway through the match, we are halfway to Ewood Park in the 5th round. Gonzo, will we be at Ewood Park on the 21st of February? Sorry.
I honestly think we will. I think we're good defensively. Famous last words. I can't see us conceding 2 goals.
Well, on Sunday is Valentine's Day. It's all about love. The Sunday after, it's about the love of the FA Cup, and hopefully West Ham United will be there. Right now, we're going in the right direction under the watchful eye of Roger East. See what I did there? Anyway, ClarityHugh.info will have the match report if you want to read it after the game's finished. We will be back later on tonight with our match review on Talk a Good Game. But thank you very much for joining us at halftime. That's been Gio. That's been Gonzo. I've been Gio, sorry. That's been Charlie and Gonzo from HammersChat.com. Thank you for watching.